like King Trang. Like King Trang.
Sounds like it is straight from the motherfucking cassette.
I hate when you get to a point in your career where people feel like they got you figured out and there's no more surprises. I like people to press play on my stuff and still be surprised.
Turn it up, baby. All the drugs necessary, yo. Hey, yo. Okay. Hey, yo. Son.
Two, one.
Going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dusttin Bowerman Show. Dustin with two T's here once again on this Ticking Time Bomb Tuesday. We are going to say some things that potentially will get us off of the air. So I'm excited for that. I hope you are as well. But more importantly, we got some topics to go over today, and we also have an important guest. So over the course of people that don't know, if you're new here, you don't know what's going on, for the next hour, we discuss news topics. We'll talk about everything going on in the esports space, what the hell is happening. Because, to be honest, let's be real. There's like nothing out there. There's really nothing really that you can find live news like in this situation. There's a lot of great shows. Obviously, like Thorin we'll have on later at 4 p.m. PST. There's a lot of fantastic shows out there like Thorin's rants, Thorin's shows where he interviews guests and stuff like that. There's also, and that's in Counter-Strike, then you also have Esports Talk by Jake Lucky. There's a lot of amazing people out there that do some great work in the esports space for the specific scenes or for esports as a whole. And to be honest, we're here to try to innovate. We're trying to do something different. We're trying to do something that's a little bit on the edge of edginess, to be honest, because today it's all about whatever we say potentially can get us off the fucking air. We'll potentially
because we
say
want
something.
to be off the air.
Yeah, we want to get kicked off the goddamn internet. That's exactly what we fucking want. We're here to tell you that Anthony is a asshole and somebody that would absolutely murder a baby if he could. I think even I don't know if you could agree with me, Max. I mean, so. Anthony, we have him on record, off the air saying that he would murder a baby lizard if he could. Anthony, what do you think about that? What do you have to say about that, bud?
All right. Now that you added the lizard part, no problem. Yeah.
What? You would murder a baby lizard even if it was an endangered species from fucking South Africa? If it was the last,
bad. I think that'll get you canceled.
And that would get him canceled. But things that won't get us canceled, but will get Riot Games canceled, is included in the news today. So, I mean, at this point, we might as well go over it because Riot Games is actually under allegations or under a pretty direct response, pretty much of they're being sued, right? They're being sued, or at least it's a legal complaint filed against them for gender discrimination and sexual harassment. We're going to go over that. I promise this time, listen, I understand that our show, it's myself, Max, and Anthony. So there's guys on the show, but we have Siren and we have Samantha behind the shows kind of covering things. But this is pretty much a cut and clear case. At this point, all of the things that are pointed towards this Riot Games CEO being under these allegations are pretty damning. Like, there's nothing that can save this guy from the situation. He's pretty much a giant fucking a-hole from what it seems. Then also, a CSGO team was kicked for toxicity and being racist and shit like that, basically, in their respective scene in Counter-Strike. Well, we'll talk about that later. Then also, CDProjekt RED was literally hacked. They're fucking, according to Twitter, their account was epically hacked or whatever. Epically pwned is what the fucking hacker said, which is obviously pretty cringy. But the comments and replies to the whole thing on Twitter was kind of interesting to me. We'll talk about that as well. And then Liquid is doing a combo with Naruto. It seems like Team Liquid is going down this weird route, guys. It seems like Liquid's going on this weird route where they're combining with fucking Marvel. They're combining with other, well-known figures in the regular space, in the normal space, the normie area, some would call it, and they're actually creating some good shit. And to be honest with you, if their jacket is over $110, I'm going to be like, I don't know if I buy it, to be honest with you, but if there's a reasonably priced hoodie, then I'll buy it. But, as per usual in esports, nothing is reasonably priced. Everything is overpriced as fuck. If you want a regular $40 jacket, you're going to have to go to fucking Goodwill at this point to buy, like, a decent priced jacket because you're not going to get one. You're going to get $40 t-shirts, and you're going to get $110 jackets. So, fuck, man, whatever, dude. Esports is a goddamn shill of a thing. And listen, if we did clothing, I'm sure at some point we'd probably also overprice it. That's just how it works, okay? That's just how fucking it works these days. Rainbow Six. On good news, though, Rainbow Six is doing a Memevitational to replace SI. Since SI is not happening, the community has decided to do a Memevitational, which is like a charity event they've decided to do, basically. And we'll talk about that as well. But more importantly, guys, Max and Anthony, there's some stuff going on with Riot Games. There's some information revolving around Riot Games. What are they doing, man? It makes me puke even thinking about it, man. Oh my God, I feel sick. No, basically, Riot Games is under, gender discrimination and sexual harassment, like legal issues basically right now. Like according to the article that we read, I need to find it again. But basically, they said that Riot Games is under investigation from their CEO Nicola Laurent, the League of Legends and Valorant dev, and and people involving around him. Basically, the legal complaint was filed from a former Riot executive assistant, Sharon O'Donnell, in January 2021. So she was terminated by Riot in July of 2020. But now she's suing for loss of wages, medical expenses, and general damages revolving around her employment, basically. And these allegations, to be honest, are pretty fucking serious. Like there was a situation where I think Laurent was telling his employees during COVID-19 to basically quote unquote have kids or whatever. He was telling the women employees during his tenure at with Riot that to avoid stress you should just have kids, is what he said basically.
Jesus, what?
That he was
What?
that was
Kind of
amongst
fucked.
yeah. And I don't know.
Yeah, that's an easy case right there. If you have evidence of him saying that.
That's just one of them. Also, he was apparently made sexual advances and stuff like that towards Sharon O'Donnell. So where he was trying to take her on vacation and stuff like that together. I mean, there was a lot of shit going down in this situation, basically. But we'll keep going. Okay, we'll keep it straight here. We'll keep it going. But Riot is basically doing an internal investigation, is what they said, and people are speculating. They're like, we're taking this investigation seriously. We have our CEO's cooperation. So they basically are trying to put him in the light here for now, because these investigations are pretty bad. So what Riot is doing is they're kind of redirecting. They're like, hey guys, he's cooperating in this situation. Our CEO, which is under these investigations, he's cooperating, guys. Look at him. Look at him.
He's required by law to cooperate, but he's cooperating.
Yeah, they're literally, yeah, exactly. This was fucking supposed to happen anyway. This is of course he's cooperating. What is he gonna do? Run to fucking goddamn Madagascar and hide from all this shit, dude? No.
I don't know.
This is pretty fucked. I mean, they're trying to kind of not brush it under the rug, but they're like, hey guys, we're doing the best we can here. Which, to be honest, I mean, I guess they are in the situation, but Riot's already been under fucking flack in the past, as you guys know.
Yeah, that was the whole. It was like two or so years ago.
3 years ago. Yeah.
What was it? Gelb? I don't know.
Kotaku. Kotaku did the article.
The COO was farting on his employees.
Huh?
He's touching their genitals. He was.
It's not even.
It was fucking weird. And so,
what a place to work.
He got in trouble, but Nicola Laurent was like, give him a hand for being good about getting it back together after that. And I was just like, huh?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
can he really come back from that?
No, I think that he just came back probably with resentment towards the people that ousted him, right? That's probably what happened. There's no way that he came back without any issues. He's just going to be feeling resentful, I imagine.
If something like that happened to one of your C-level officers, and
just fire
all
him.
The other people are just saying, yeah, come back, he's better now, we congratulate him. How do you expect us to not think that it's the same over there?
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I don't fucking know. This whole thing is weird. We'll go back on the topic, though, basically. And the whole thing is very strange, like we said. And O'Donnell apparently joined Riot back in 2017. And then she alleged, basically, in this situation, legally, she alleged wrongful termination in July 2020, saying she was repeatedly yelled at by Laurent. I think that's how you pronounce his name, right? Laurent? Or Laurent? I think it's Laurent. And he was consistently telling her to watch her tone, is what he was saying. So she was his assistant. Her official title was executive assistant. So I imagine, so she was obviously Laurent's direct assistant, and he was telling her to watch her tone. And basically, Riot's response to this and Laurent's response to this was saying that basically how she's had complaints from a lot of people and stuff like that. But that's kind of against that, regardless of the situation. That's kind of not really in the same path of what the hell is happening here. Apparently there's also claims that Laurent made sexual advances towards her, like I said earlier, and asked her to travel with him outside of work. And then she also claims that she was a non-exempt employee covered by wage and hours laws of California. So she was apparently, she should have been covered for all of her hours of work and stuff like that, and she should have gotten breakfast, meals, and rest breaks and stuff like that, and was also not paid for overtime. Whereas apparently she was. And apparently the California Labor Code, which is strict, okay? California Labor Code is pretty strict compared to other states. But that doesn't mean that you're exempt from it just because it's strict. If you're a fucking if you're literally in California, then obviously you have to follow by their code. And like Riot is in serious trouble about this. Like they've been at the forefront of this for a while. They've been in serious legal trouble in the state of California for literally the past couple years, you know, at this point. Like Riot Games is this is a bad look, and it has been a bad look. I mean, we love, you know, Valorant, League, and all that stuff. We talk about those shows here. But that really doesn't take away from the fact that if you have a toxic work environment, you kind of have a toxic work environment. Like, listen, I understand our work environment is a little bit toxic, but it's like a different kind of toxic. It's like a fun toxic. You know what I mean? Like the toxic environment here at our show is completely different than this. This is like a fucking next level toxicity where it's incredibly, you know, you can get sued over this shit, man. Obviously, and that's what's happening.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
Just the game development scene is completely different from like what we think it would be. It's just like a whole bunch of overtime work hours and meeting expectations of gamers and stuff. And people come into it being like, "Oh, I'm a gamer. I'll like game development." But there's the ugly side of it where it's just actually, you know, running a business and dickheads running a business in this case too.
Corporation's gonna corporation, man. That's how it is. You know, that's how it fucking is. And I'm pretty sure Twitch was, at this point, if you have a big company, I'm sure you'll have you'll have shitheads in that company. You know, it's just like, it's a matter of time before, this is not excusing anything. This is not excusing any shitheads in companies or corporations for having said shitheads, you know. But it feels like at this point, if you're gonna run Amazon, if you're gonna run fucking, you know, Riot Games, Tencent, you know, whatever organization, they're going to have shitheads in said organization. I'm sure the same thing you could be said for CDProjekt RED. You know, CDProjekt RED probably also has shitheads in that company. You know, every company is just going to have shitheads. And Anthony manages to be our shithead, you know, so that's how...
Hold on here.
Congratulations.
I'm pretty sure Max can agree with me that it is you.
How am I the shithead? Explain to me how I'm the shithead of our company over here, of our you know, imaginary company.
Well, you see. It's very simple. You're at the top. And
what?
That makes you the shithead.
Yeah. Clearly. Everyone knows. In any group, in any organization, it's always, like in this example right here with Riot, it's always the CEO. It's always
true.
Top.
I'm not the CEO, though. We're all the CEO over here. You know what I'm saying? We're equal CEOs in this situation.
So you're saying we're equally shitheads.
Do we have a HR department in your company here?
Yeah, we're all the HR department. We each are our own HR employee. You know what I'm saying? That's how this works over here at the Dusttin Bowerman Show. We each are our own human resources guidance. So, you know, ask your inner self if you're being harassed at this very moment, Anthony. Are you being harassed?
When am I not?
Oh, well, true, actually. I can't, you know, at this point,
we got video evidence of
at
it.
this point, my inner HR, you know, employee has to agree. So I think at this point, you know, I'm just going to jail for life. So, all right,
I think he deserves a raise from one man Mountain Dew to two.
Raise them up at Mountain Dew. All right, we'll bring Anthony over at Mountain Dew immediately. We need to get sponsored by Mountain Dew, bro. Somehow, some way, that has to happen. That has to happen. Only because I legitimately enjoyed Mountain Dew. There's not many products I actually really enjoy. But Mountain Dew is definitely one of them. If I could get their product,
Pepsi, please.
That's an off topic. We've just going off topic here. I'm sorry, but you know, Riot Games is not looking very good for them, obviously. And I think, you know, with their progression, what they've made in Valorant and stuff like that, and with these other games that they're progressively pushing to the top, it doesn't, like we said, it doesn't. We still have to hold them accountable. They're not like out of the limelight just because they have a lot of money and because they're rich and because they're, you know, whatever. We're gonna talk about them. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna burn any bridge we can over here, or at least I am. We got to burn our bridges with these companies simply because we're trying to get the truth out there. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to get the truth on these situations, and at this point, we have to you know, burn bridges to do so. In which I'm actually an expert at burning bridges. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually a expert at burning bridges. As you know, in the past, I've when I worked at the Atlanta Reign, I would shit talk Dallas Fuel's head coach, and that probably burned a bridge with Dallas Fuel. I would shit talk the Paris Eternals team in Cruz. That probably burned a bridge. You know, at this point, it seems like I've burnt a lot of bridges in the Overwatch League, at least with teams. But yet, players will still come on the show and actually be cool. So, I don't know. I don't get it. We'll move on, though, okay, guys? Because this is another kind of situation with toxicity. This is another situation that involves incredibly upsetting individuals that have been, they're still pretty young, to be honest. Like, But that doesn't excuse them. You know what I'm saying? This is more of a situation where they have to be treated harshly and they have to be treated fairly in a just way in order to get the righteous punishment. You know what I'm saying? Because in this situation, there were CSGO players that were actually reported for being toxic and racist, basically. They were incredibly terrible people online and in the internet space and in the Counter-Strike space, so they were removed from their team, Depth Esports, and they were also removed from FPL. So they were removed from two things at once. There was like five people, basically. I think there was 4 names, but I could be wrong. But basically, they were kicked from FPL and have been kicked from their team because of their toxicity and racism and stuff like that. This was already reported before, but it was then brought to light even further from Elige, the Counter-Strike player for Team Liquid. He basically reported them to Twitter. He was like, okay, what the fuck, man? How is there these people that are being this toxic and this racist publicly, and how are they not punished for it? And now they are. You know, now they are removed from the team. They got a paycheck apparently before this. But the age range of these players was like 18 to 21. So let me ask you. Yeah, they're adults. But let me ask you this question, because listen, we're like 22, like we're all 22, I'm pretty sure, I think, here on the show. At least us 3. Anthony's turning on 23 over here soon. He's becoming an old man. But yeah, 1 week. He's becoming an old man in 1 week. We'll celebrate your birthday if you're here for the. Oh. You can take a day off if you need to. You know what I'm saying? We can take
what
it
am
anyway.
I gonna do with a day off?
I don't know. Yeah, exactly. There's nothing really to do in general.
We'll have the party here.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, okay, no, we'll talk about this after this topic. I have something to bring up with COVID-19 after this, involving something that we mentioned the other day. But basically, they were removed from the team. They're 18 to 21, but does that excuse them from the situation? You know, can we? Like, I think on the internet, there's this saying, and there's this thing that's like, okay, you have to condemn people for their actions, which makes sense. Condemn, like the virtue signaling and that kind of stuff is not necessarily bad. You know what I'm saying? Like, being a person that calls out people for being bad online is not necessarily a bad thing. You know what I mean? It's not necessarily a bad thing. However, my question is for the situation, like, there were seriously bad people. Like, they were being incredibly racist. Like, I think specifically one of them was being extremely terrible. I think it was Rev or somebody called one of them out specifically. But basically, my question is, can these people learn? Can they actually become better people from this? And should we be able to forgive them in years' time? You know what I'm saying? When years pass. Or are they just absolutely fucked and are, screwed over for the rest of their lives? Which would be reasonable, maybe.
But can I get a better idea of this first? Are they, like, going into just, like, the game chat and talking shit to the other team? Or they're just, like, specifically calling someone out?
So they were pretty much, yeah, they were this was seen like chat logs from in-game, from a lot of situations in game where they were just kind of being toxic and racist towards people in the actual game, basically.
Like in the actual,
over the course,
like, FPL and whatnot
games. Yep, and that's why
wow.
FPL removed them, basically, because they were pretty much kicked for being toxic and racist. The full name of the players, we might as well say their names. The CSGO players released were Rec, Shane, Dare, Snav, and Kel. And apparently Snav was especially bad. Apparently he was somehow especially bad. But basically what happened was, after seeing this, Elige went to Twitter and said, damn, I didn't know all of the Timberman Depth. Like, okay, so it's the same organization, Timberman / Depth Esports MDL kids, the Mountain Dew League kids, or an FPL. Were some of the most toxic, racist people I've ever come across in my life in plugs, which is pretty crazy, because if you consider Elige's, like, 23 or something like that now, 24, he's been around for a while in the pro scene, probably seen a lot of toxic shitheads. And these guys are some of the most toxic and racist that he's ever seen. And he basically tweeted about this and got a lot of traction on the scenario. It wasn't just him, because FPL was also on the case before this. But he kind of brought extra light to it, if that makes sense. But they got, like, the FPL was, to answer your question, Max, FPL was receiving several reports against Shane, Dare, Snav, and Havoc for being toxic towards other members since September 2020 is what they said, pretty much. Since September 2020,
Jeez.
They were being toxic towards everybody. But they struggled to find evidence, though, basically. And they couldn't find solid action against them. But until members reported them and were requested to send screenshots this time, but nobody would provide any, basically, is what's happening. So they're having a hard time finding evidence against them. But then Elise acknowledged it, and FPL also looked more into it, and they actually did find evidence that they were incredibly toxic and racist and stuff like that. So, but yeah, can they actually improve from this? Can they grow and can they learn, or should they be condemned for the rest of their lives?
I mean, they should be punished for something meaningful so that they like can take their time to recognize it and eventually be better people. But if they just like, all right, yeah, go ahead to the next tournament, maybe I'll just be like, all right, the punishment's pretty light. Like, the hell do I care? And I'll just keep doing it.
Yeah.
4 years.
4 years
4
of
years
what?
is pretty long.
Of what?
4
Just
years. I don't know. It's like they obviously need to be punished, and they can't just get away with it until the next tournament.
Yeah.
But I feel like the youngest person's like 18 or something. They're still an adult. They need to know what they're doing. It's like no one comes out of high school thinking this is okay.
Yeah, no, maybe if you're like 16 or 14 or something, but like even I never, like, okay, people can admit their past and admit their stuff. I never used the hard R or the N word or whatever. I've never used those words in my entire life. You can go back in the chat logs from years ago. You know what I'm saying? I'd never, like, I feel like a lot of people do, though. In like American cultures, a lot of people do use those terms and stuff like that throughout their entire lives, pretty much. You know what I'm saying? But especially when they're that, young, edgy 12 to 14 or 12 to 16 era, that doesn't excuse them. And that's why people come out of the woodworks and they're like, okay, this guy has to get punished. This guy has to get punished for his actions. And they are. But these guys were 18. Maybe they didn't learn when they were fucking younger. And unfortunately for them, they were still racist, fucking toxic pieces of shit. Past 18. So yeah, they definitely need to be condemned for their actions.
And if they were doing it in the middle of tournament matches and stuff like that, there's no way they thought that they would get away with it, right?
I don't know. Maybe they just assumed.
I don't see anything else besides they did it to I don't know, for the fun of it or something.
This is, by the way, this is not us trying to defend them or look for any reaching, trying to defend them. This is not by any means. So part of this is just trying to figure out where this is coming from. We're not we're against the actions 100%. We're not trying to defend them. This is more of trying to understand the reason behind doing said action. Why did this happen?
My rationale is there's a lot of shit talking going on in any esports and things like that. You would know, right? But
yeah, a lot, yeah.
Doing this, they obviously did it just to I don't know. This isn't just to get under their skin and then try to be better than them at that. This is just them trying to be haha, funny.
Yeah, they're just toxic kind of people in their life, slurs. I guess. Yeah. There's been instances, by the way, Max, in in Overwatch, for example, which I totally retracted my statement for this guy, but basically what happened was there was a guy named Cucumber, and there was before that his name was what was his name before that? Kaluge or Aluge, or I think Kaluge or something like that. But basically he was incredibly toxic and racist for basically years. And then tried to kind of come back from this, basically. This is what happens when these people kind of get away. To give you an example, this is what happens after their actions, basically. They probably will never come back, to be honest with you. They'll probably never come back in the scene and probably will never be missed. That's why we're saying we don't, we're not defending these guys, because guess what? They'll probably never come back, because in this situation, Kaluge has tried changing his name multiple times after being a toxic dude that was also racist pretty much and said a lot of bad shit in chat. He's tried to come back after changing his name multiple times, and he's never been able to come back. He's never been able to come back because the community still holds it against him that he's was this person in the past. He might have gotten better and might have improved, but it's at this point you should probably leave the scene. Because the scene doesn't want you if you're a toxic, racist piece of shit. They just want you gone at this point. It depends on the severity of your toxicity. But it's proven in other games in the past, and I think Counter-Strike might be different than Overwatch in terms of the scene, in terms of the culture. Maybe the culture is more forgiving of that stuff. But at least in Overwatch, these types of people do not come back. They're gone forever and gone for good. And I think for the most part, people will be like, okay, cool. I'm happy with that, And then I think I feel like people like me will not necessarily, like I said, we're not trying to defend this, just to reiterate, because people are going to somehow fucking try to assume that we're defending this. We're not, okay? We're not trying to defend this. What I'm trying to say is I'm wondering, because I always look at the better side of people. You know, I think that people can improve and can get better over time if they actually work towards it and if they actually try to become better people. I think that they can get better and improve, and I'm not defending any of their actions in the past, but I think people grow and people learn if they want to and if they choose to. But to a lot of people, they don't. And I think these guys might not improve.
You think that these guys are actually serious about CSGO?
Well, they're in the MDL League. Like, they were in the MDL League. MDL League is like the premier place to go if you're an up-and-coming talent, basically, in NA.
Oh, because like if they're doing stuff like this, it just shows me that they're like not really serious about like what position they're in and like how they're gonna go up.
That's a good point, because in MDL before, they've had issues with, at least in Valorant. I want to ask Thorin about this later, but in Valorant, they were investigating. I don't know if they're still investigating. I think they could still be under an investigation, but there are current Valorant pros that are under investigation of match fixing in MDL, in the Mountain Dew League in Counter-Strike, which is the same league we're talking about with these guys. So this is the same league that's festered toxicity and racism, the same league that's had match fixers. It's like people aren't taking MDL very seriously, you know? People aren't taking MDL very seriously. I don't even know if a new league would help it. I just think it kind of proves that the CSGO scene, and this proves that MDL and like Goomba mentioned, it feels like tier 1 and like players in the MDL league and that are up and comers are kind of suppressed. Like, their talent is suppressed to some degree in America. And that's because, you know, MDL has such a bad environment, a bad reputation at this point, I feel like, that nobody wants those players, you know? Nobody wants to get those players because it has such a bad reputation. And I'm sure there's some people they're going to get up, you know, whatever. But it just feels like people kind of treat MDL as a joke, you know? People treat it as a joke.
Do that many people watch Tier 2 anyways? Like, besides, like, bettors, I guess?
Yeah, there were people watching. I remember when MDL came out, there were people watching it, but what happens to Tier 2 over time, and I think I haven't really seen a successful Tier 2 scene, except maybe you could say League of Legends with their Academy scene. But, like, I don't know. Like, there's not many Tier 2 scenes that actually become their own successful platform for people to make money. Because it feels like over time, people lose interest in the Tier 2 scene because guess what? Those best Tier 2 players go up to Tier 1, you know? So it's like, why are people going to watch the Tier 2 scene if there's literally... Because what happens usually is, in League of Legends, for example, the best players... Instead of going, like, some of them will go down to the Academy scene, but a lot of them will just, you know, use the fame and whatever they got from League of Legends and will just kind of side path over to streaming and just kind of go down that path. So it just feels like the Tier 2 scenes kind of always just kind of taper off over time, you know? And that's just how it is. It's different, though, in Counter-Strike, I guess, because every tournament has the chance to have good teams in them, except, like, MDL and stuff like that. I think, and Monte Cristo talked about running Flashpoint, which is, like, I guess a Tier 2 scene, technically, in a Tier 2 league. So it can be profitable and it can be good, you know? But MDL is definitely not the case, you know? And it seems like, you know, that's proven. These guys were dropped, and In Depth even tweeted or said in their I think they did tweet this, or they said it as a public statement, to end this off. Depth tweeted after they were released, they were removed. They said, due to several behavior issues coming out regarding our CSGO team, Snav, Kel, Rek, Dare, Flush, Shane, were all released. We will be releasing them from the organization immediately. What did they say? They said we will be releasing them from organization. They didn't even say from the organization. They literally misspelled that. We take the integrity from the organization very seriously. As such, we have made the decision to terminate their contracts, and we want to thank them for being with us. Wait! They said we want to thank the... Wait, I just read this part. They just said... The statement from Depth is, we want to thank them for being with us and wish them the best going forward. What?
Is that a good PR move?
That is not a good PR move. That is not the play, bro. There's no way you end that off with fucking, we wish them the best going forward, man. Jesus Christ. Okay, I don't know about that.
At least they dropped them.
At least they dropped them, but that is not the play, I think, in terms of that. Yeah, I don't know. Max, you have something, though?
Yeah, so we're going to go to the next topic on CDProjekt getting hacked. Ooh. So today they just released a tweet saying that apparently someone got into their servers and they left a little note saying that they got all their information, all their source code, and if they don't give up a ransom sometime in 48 hours, they're going to release it all. And
epically pwned.
Yeah, it's pretty funny what the README says for the ransom is. "Hello, CDProjekt RED, you have been epically pwned." That's like
questionable.
2000s hacker man talk, but I don't know.
That's what they were going for, I guess.
Why not? And so basically, he lists that they got all of their game source code, including like the next Witcher 3 stuff for like RTX, and of course like Cyberpunk and Gwent and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they more importantly, they got like all their information on like the HR, accounting, and investment stuff. So basically, they're threatening to release all of their employees' like livelihood information. So that's probably bad. And they're pretty much saying like, if you don't give in to this ransom, your company's gonna go down the shitter.
What is the ransom? What is the ransom?
It doesn't say. They're just saying we got to negotiate.
What?
They didn't want to put like a set amount. They got greedy.
Jesus Christ, dude. What the fuck? Yeah.
Basically, CDPR said that they're not going to negotiate with these terrorists, and we're just going to move forward. And
they called them actors, right? They called them actors or something.
They're the actors or something like that. Which probably is the smart move in my opinion. I don't know about you guys, but if like a hacker came and just said like, I have this stuff, like, is there really like evidence that you have it? And if you give them the money, are you sure that they're not even going to release it in the first place?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'd probably. Oh man, what would you do in this company situation, man? What would you do in CDProjekt RED's situation, dude? I don't know. That is probably the smartest move you could say.
Yeah, I think what they're doing is right. Just fucking chill on it. It's like it's whatever.
Yeah, and like CDProjekt RED, they've been getting like some really bad PR ever since Cyberpunk.
They did shit the bed with Cyberpunk. You can't.
Well, yeah, people are using that as an excuse to kind of shit on them, though. Like for this situation too. Should we be really? They posted the picture. There were some funny memes. I'm not gonna lie. If you saw in the Twitter replies, Max, where like some of them were showing like CDProjekt RED's like security or whatever, and it was like the actual hacking game and fucking goddamn Cyberpunk.
I haven't seen those.
Jesus fuck, dude. I don't know. I mean, those are funny memes and all, but like, can you like you shouldn't use this as a situation to shit on fucking Cyberpunk anymore. Like, I'm on the boat where we should not like be really that against this company for being such like for over promoting their game or whatever. You know, they just marketed their game. You know, and that's not like their fault. It was
their marketing team did good work. I mean, they sold the game.
They probably got their money back.
In my opinion, it wasn't even that bad of a game. Like, I don't know. People were just
I was lucky
overhyped for it.
I didn't really watch any trailers or anything like that before I got the game. So I got my expectations. But apparently, they really did overpromise a lot of stuff.
Yes, I'm familiar.
But
you were one of those.
Does that say that? Do you think that they deserve to get hacked in this situation?
No. Like, that is a different thing. It's like it's not cool.
Yeah, I mean,
I think this is like they finally have something where they can like the public will actually feel sorry for them.
Can you imagine it's all just one big publicity stunt?
It could be.
That'd be genius, actually,
bro. That's what I thought it was. I thought it was weird that like, why would they post? I don't know. It just felt weird that they would post that on. Like, why did they do that? Why did they post online, Max? Do you have any? Is there actually any solid evidence to why CDProjekt RED decided to go public with this?
Well, they said that the ransom was public in the first place.
Oh, it was?
And so, yeah, somewhere they found on public that it was like that epically pwned README ransom that was on there.
That's kind of that's interesting then. You know, that could be that would be the fucking hottest take in the world that Anthony posted. Fucking,
is that our hot take today?
That's a hot take.
CDProjekt RED.
They're fucking
fabricated a ransom.
Fabricated. Yeah.
And put all of their employees at unimaginable amounts of stress.
Jesus Christ. Hey, that would be interesting. What if it could be a plot? What if 5 years from now we find out somebody gets released, like one of the employees like writes a book about it. The time we tried to regain our PR by fucking saying we got hacked, you know, like, hey,
Hey,
Is it
maybe.
that bad of an idea? Is it that bad of an idea?
It's a pretty bad idea.
They had a lot of bad negative press, though. This is a way to get it back. To be fair, this is a way to get it back. How else would they get the reputation of being a good company back?
Yeah, just do what No Man's Sky
I
did.
make a good game.
Yeah, just make the game.
Just
like,
make
just
a
work
good
on the
game.
game for years straight. Don't make anything cost more. Keep it the same price the whole time. No DLC costs, and then just keep adding to the game. Make it a better game.
And just make good DLC, and probably it would be a recommended buy. I still like the game.
I liked it too. I thought it was decent. Just didn't have that much replayability for me, I guess.
And also, they did say that none of like their GOG servers and accounts got compromised.
Oh, good. Okay.
Probably just to make sure you want to monitor your GOG accounts, because if you didn't know, CDPR, they own GOG. So
okay.
They say it's not compromised, but just make sure that your account is fine. Yeah.
Yeah, and GOG is good old games, right? That's the client that people use to play like old video games from the past, basically, right?
Yeah, and well, they have new games now.
Oh, and new games, yeah. So it's their own client. It's like their own Steam. Yeah.
Yeah. Good old games. Better watch
Anthony?
it.
What?
Oh my God, Anthony, you buffoon! You ruined it. It's goddamn ruined. Oh my God, unbelievable.
I can't believe you.
This fucking guy. We're talking about Naruto now, Anthony. We're gonna move over to the next.
It's your favorite anime.
It's too many loud cars in the back. I can't hear shit sometimes. Yeah.
Oh no, it's in the chat. We have a little chat room where we discuss and try to make the flow of the show go good.
Bro, I didn't see
Unbelievable.
it. I didn't see
Unbelievable, Anthony.
Anyway,
unbelievable.
Team Liquid X Naruto. Team Liquid tweeted, "Believe it." Hashtag Naruto X Naruto. Liquid X Naruto 2/12/21 12 PST. We're getting Liquid and Naruto merch. I am excited. I am just maybe. I don't know if you looked at it, Dustin, but the parka actually kind of nice. Everything else kind of meh. But the parka's $100, man. Like the prices range from $35 to $100. The shirts t-shirts being $35. I was like, all right, that's fair. The park is a whole $100, and I'm like, I don't know if I can justify that in my own budget. I don't know about you, but it's kind of nice.
I'm looking at them right now. Sorry, I'll just post them up. I just really like that they got King Vader for the whole thing. I don't know if you guys watched any of King Vader's YouTube videos at all, or you've probably seen a couple of them. He's the guy that does they do dance videos. You know what I'm saying? Where they play like trap music with like Naruto or with like some sort of cowboy bebop. They did a cowboy bebop one that was pretty funny. Where it was like, dun, 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 and they were just fucking jamming out. Dude, they make some good stuff. It's like, hip hop anime stuff. Anyway, they paid that guy to be in their stuff, which is kind of what they're modeling in their videos and shit like that. I thought it was pretty funny. I don't know.
Is that the guy who made the Itachi rap?
Yep, I think so. I don't know if he made the rap. I think he used it, though. I don't know if he made the rap. Maybe we should probably find that out to see if that's actually true. I'm looking at their merch right now, though, Anthony. And you said which one? I like the Naruto. The orange shirt is actually kind of nice.
What about the Sasuke one?
The Sasuke shirt or the jacket?
The jacket.
I don't know. I mean, it's not bad by any means, but I don't need more jackets. I already have a few jackets, bro. You don't people don't own that many jackets, dude. You just have that Disney jacket you're wearing right now, Max. You just have that jacket on, and Anthony has his whatever that is he's wearing. How many jackets do you own, Anthony? I'm looking at their merch right now too, by the way.
Enough that he can just count right now.
I've got one for each day of the week.
You have one for each day of the week, so you have seven.
This is my current favorite one.
That's your ticking time bomb jacket.
But that's what I'm saying is that you don't need that many jackets. You need shirts, but you don't need that many jackets. Especially in Arizona. We live in Arizona. It's cold for 2 months out of the whole year. And then the rest of the year, you don't need a fucking jacket for. You know what I'm saying? Especially this year.
It's fucking worthless most of the time.
Yeah. Unless you're an edgy, emo, high school kid that always wears jackets.
Hey,
I'm sure we all had that. Yeah, Anthony used to wear jackets all day at school, even during summer.
Yep.
There's a Sasuke one.
What does the tie-dye shirt have to do with... What does the tie-dye... I like it, but I would never buy it. What does the tie-dye shirt have to do with fucking... with Naruto? What the hell does the tie-dye shirt...
There's on the back, there's the whole cast of Naruto.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. See, I would buy like the one that you're talking about, Anthony. I think is not there. I don't know where the one that you were talking about is.
Parka?
The parka. Yeah, I don't see the parka. That's what I would probably get. The pants. Oh, those pants are kind of not. I like the tie-dye pants. I'm not gonna lie. I might buy those pants. The Naruto or the pants they have. I like this. I mean, yeah, the parka's good. The actual ones they also had like the. I don't know. Why are they doing this? By the way, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna ask what does Team Liquid have to do with Naruto?
Who knows, man?
I guess it's good PR. I mean,
yeah, like gaming, anime.
Weebs.
There's like, there's a pretty wide combination of the two.
I mean, like, yeah, us three on the show, we all love. I mean, we're all weebs, to be fair.
Yeah,
some people aren't.
There's a good chunk of people who play games that also watch anime, and vice versa.
But how many of those people that are also on the same Crunchyroll account that aren't willing to pay $5 a month, but instead have like 100 people on the same Crunchyroll account?
I don't know how many people are on that one account.
We have like 100 people on the same Crunchyroll account. Like,
why would say that?
I don't know. Like, it's not against the fucking rules to have multiple people on the same account. I'm pretty sure. Otherwise, they wouldn't make it a thing. Otherwise they wouldn't make it a thing at this point. So I mean, listen. Why would people like this cheap and this frugal in our friend group and in our people that are all gamers and then also love anime? Why would we spend money on a $110 fucking jacket? You know what I'm saying? No goddamn way. No goddamn it. You said maybe, Anthony?
It's a nice jacket.
Maybe.
It's a nice jacket, but are you willing to spend $100 for it, dude? You could spend $100 on Doge. You're telling me you would rather buy a jacket instead of $100 of a shitty ass currency?
All right, what I'm saying is I could take my profits from Doge and put it onto this.
The thing is, not bad. You like Naruto, but do you like Team Liquid?
No, not really.
You want to support who's on Team Liquid? Hungry Box?
I was considering buying their Marvel stuff, but I don't know. Even that's a little bit lame. Like, I don't know. It is a little bit strange. I mean, they're going like a different, at least they're doing something different, to be fair. That's what I do like about Team Liquid is they're not trying to like copy 100 Thieves like a lot of organizations are, Like a lot of orgs are trying to be like, hey guys, this is the fucking way of the future. We're going to try to be streetwear, But not many teams can be streetwear. That's just what 100 Thieves branded themselves from the very beginning as. Team Liquid, for example, if they wanted to be regular old streetwear, they probably just wouldn't be as successful as 100 Thieves, to be honest with you. But they can make which this is still streetwear, but they're at least original like streetwear, you know what I'm saying? Like it's different. Even though it's nerdy, it's like a little bit nerdy. And Naruto is becoming more and more like, applicable, more palatable.
Like, anime is more popular, like nowadays, right? But are you able to yet like walk around in like anime clothing
with a headband?
Clothing? No, not the whole headbands.
I used to do that in middle school.
The headband's too far, I think.
What?
Personally,
you never wore like the Leaf Clan headband in like elementary school or whatever? What? You never did that?
I knew the kids who did.
I did it every now and again.
I think that's still too far. Like, is it like socially acceptable to wear like just an anime like hoodie or like t-shirt?
Yeah, I mean, I always like whenever I see somebody wearing like a Dragon Ball Z shirt or something like that, I always give them props. I'm like, hey, nice shirt, man.
I mean, like I look at it and I'm like, huh, a little weird. But
what? You think it's weird?
Like I'm the kind of person that wears zero designs on there. Anything like this is weird for me to like even have this on my jacket. Like I normally have.
Oh, you're like full bland.
Like you can't see my shirt under this, but like I literally wear just a plain black t-shirt.
But why?
It's called you bland.
Yeah, but
it's true. I'm not going to argue.
What I thought was interesting that a lot of the pictures that they did in the it kind of looks like Chinese esque. Fashion, you know what I'm saying? Like Asian fashion. Because
a little. It does look kind of Asian fashion.
Because it's like oversized.
Stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's kind of like the way of the future, at least at the like Chinese clothing and stuff like that. And there's brands like Ape and stuff or whatever. Like the hype beasts always love like oversized clothing. I don't know, just because of look / how valuable it is, I guess. I don't know. They do an alright job at it. I like it. All right, we'll move on though, boys. We'll move on. Rainbow Six is hosting a Memevitational. For when we talked about SI the other week, we mentioned how it was canceled. It was basically removed from that weekend or from this weekend over the past weekend, by the way, and it was pushed and postponed back. So instead of the event, what Rainbow Six community decided to do was host a Memevitational which is it's confirmed that they're going to have a prize pool for chosen charities, and incorporates competition basically from at least 10 plus teams that are going to the event. And it's going to have some of the biggest and best names also in Siege. So content creators, streamers, the whole gambit, the pro players and stuff like that are all going to be competing in this event to replace SI because SI was canceled, which is awesome. This is a fucking good news. To be honest, this is good news considering everything today has been about toxicity. I guess the Naruto and Liquid stuff was not that bad. But, this is pretty fucking sick, to be honest with you. Having a Memevitational to support charity, to support, the community, and to actually do something good for once. When, to be honest, the Rainbow Six community is full of cheaters and just honestly, like from the outside looking in, not exactly an ideal environment. Although it is a good-ass game, you have to admit Rainbow Six is a good, solid game and a good, solid foundation. The problem is that they don't ban cheaters. You know what I'm saying? They just don't ban cheaters. So what our idea was, okay, Memevitational is great. The Memevitational is amazing, fantastic idea. But for example, in Counter-Strike, they used to do something like for bots, because they used to have bots in the game that would they would have like a bot tournament basically, where it would just only be AI playing against each other to then go on to win the whole thing or whatever. Just pretty much AI fighting against each other. So what we thought was a good idea was a cheater invitational. You know what I'm saying? A cheater invitational where you only invite people that are cheating or hacking to some way into a tournament, and the best cheater wins. The best cheater wins. Is that not a bad idea or what? Is that a good idea or is it terrible?
It's what I want to see.
It's promoting.
But we might go all the way back to. I know Derek talked about it. Do you guys know about it? It was like you would just knife a wall and like killing people across the map.
Yeah.
I don't remember which game that was.
Probably
Combat Arms.
I think it was Combat Arms.
Yeah, Combat Arms is the classic game where
they had
cheaters
one of the
go
worst
against cheaters and the best cheats wins.
I don't know I think it's kind of the same in Counter-Strike, but I know, at least in Combat Arms, you could kill people from the spawn. Like, you can kill people through walls and shit. I don't think you can do the...
People even got creative with the cheats in that game. They just, made everyone in the map fly, and they'd have, Santa come in and stuff. I remember that.
They had some good cheats. So that's what my question is in Rainbow Six, can you do a cheater invitational, or in any game, really? Can you do, like a cheater-only tournament? They probably do host those. They're like underground, like cheater fighting tournaments or whatever.
Probably.
Like probably
Ubisoft
hosted by
probably
cheaters.
wouldn't be happy, but
no, Ubisoft would probably ban everybody involved, I imagine. So if it's a public fucking thing, then there's no way that any company would be like condoning it. It would be interesting though. I think it'd be a good idea.
I'd watch it.
I'd watch it.
Especially like the creative showcase.
Oh yeah.
If it's not just like competitive.
Yeah. I think it'd be fun. It'd be a good idea. But I mean, this is at least good enough, for now to hold us over, to be honest. To hold us over with Rainbow Six Invitational. Yeah. It takes place in February 2020 or 20. I was about to say 2021. It does take place in 2021, but it's February 20th to the 21st. It's round robin, and there's 2 sets of 5 teams to battle it out over the first day in a best of 3 tournament. And then the second day we'll go top 4 into elimination showdown to determine the winner. But guys, it seems it's about that time. It's about that time we bring in our guest. Oh my god! Every time before we have a guest, I just feel like I have something coming on. You know what I'm saying?
What are you
Every
eating,
fucking
man?
time. I don't know. Just poke. Just had some good old poke today.
God, I wish that were
some
me.
tea. Hey man, poke is fucking delicious, dude. Every time.
Oh yeah.
Every time without it, I always love it. But so our guest today is a man who's been casting and commentating over Counter-Strike and is also known as an esport historian. Thorin, let's go!
Thorin!
All right, mate.
What's going on, dude?
Not bad. It's a little bit
Not
weird,
bad.
this setup, but whatever.
Oh, what happened? You mean the actual setup itself?
Yeah, I have to watch you through a browser or something, don't I?
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, it's a little bit weird. Sorry, it's just it's in production. It's in the works. We're not upwards of your level of podcasting and hosting this shit. Which is
Mate,
why I
I
was
could
pretty
barely even get you to
anticipated.
come on my podcast. What are you talking about?
What do you mean? You barely asked me.
Listen, you want to get into the world of content, right? About drama and that. I heard your girlfriend was just banning you from coming on my show.
No, why are you bringing that up again, bro?
You like that?
Thorin?
You like that?
God
Listen, 1
damn
minute
it,
in.
dude.
I don't know.
No. Okay, it's expected though. I figured that's why I wrote down on my notes. I was like, you know, if we have Thorin on, he's going to be saying a lot of shit that's either going to fly over my head or have to be a roast. That's just kind of how it works with Thorin at this point.
Sure. Well, I
But
mean, listen, based on what I just said, you'll definitely have to delete that, right? Otherwise, you'll be sleeping on the couch,
no.
mate. So, yeah.
It's staying. It's staying.
Okay.
No, I don't have a girlfriend
Fair enough.
anymore, so you know, we're fine.
Probably better for all of us. So let's go.
Yeah, probably is. You know, don't have to spread the seed of Dusttin Bowerman. You know, that's fine. No, thanks for coming though. I was actually really anticipated. This is awesome to have you on because, like I mentioned, I think I told you in the past. I mean, like I've watched you for. It sounds weird. Is it weird when people say this? But like I watched you when I was basically a kid. You know, I used to watch your rant videos back in 2014. I used to be a massive Counter-Strike fan for basically my entire childhood. Is that weird to like see people grow up and still be fans of you back in the day and stuff?
I mean, usually they're not that old school. I mean, I think like esports, it kind of reminds me of what I heard from Koreans actually when I first went to Korea. Like they were like, oh, everyone knows what esports is, but they know in the sense that it's something you did when you were 14, you know? Like they don't know like the players now. Like the guy who's like a 30-year-old guy in Korea doesn't know like the best StarCraft player or League of Legends, but he knows it from some point in his career. So I would say like Counter-Strike especially, that's probably the most common one people are going to know me from because like I assume you're from America, right? Yeah? Like almost any North American male who is roughly your age probably played Counter-Strike at some point, even just as a casual game, I'm assuming.
Yeah. No, yeah. And I was extremely into CSS and stuff like that. But apparently, a lot of people didn't like CSS, though. It was more of 1.6. Yeah. Which is shitty because I thought CSS was good. But apparently, everybody said no. Speaking of which, real quick, because, I mean, obviously, because of, you know, your affiliation and stuff like that, where you used to always wear jerseys, like NBA jerseys and stuff like that. You still watch the NBA? Modern day NBA or no?
Yeah, like here's the thing. I'm not as huge a fan as I was before. It's more like I pick my spots, you know, I pick the teams I like or if a player's really, really good. But I would say it's probably one of the best spots to watch the playoffs of for sure. I don't necessarily like the problem is the players. I was a massive fan of a lot of them are retired now, so I don't like watching all the regular season games. But I think it's still one of the best spots. If it was up to me, mate, I would still wear all that stuff on broadcast. But unfortunately, the period when I was coming on camera, I perfectly, it's no joke, caught the phase when people would try harding for the next 10 years to be like, oh, I'm Chris Collinsworth, I'm a real sports guy on the NFL. Like, and then they all have the goal, no joke. Even some of the people who dissed me when I wore those jerseys, now to be like, why is everyone so uptight? We should just wear what we are esports. We are our own culture. God. It's like, I was the one trying to do that. Like, listen, I'm not saying do my style. Yeah, I looked like some reamed out guy who's trying to get in hip hop culture in the 90s or something. But I'm saying use your own style. You know, I think everyone should in esports from day one have had that mentality of like, if you want to get into esports, you're coming into our world. We're not coming to your world. We're not coming begging you to come on your TV channel or whatever.
You even have whole fucking leagues do that now. I mean, obviously, I think you were a big criticism or critique of Overwatch League, for example, when they decided to add jersey numbers and stuff like that to the back of jerseys. Isn't that like we're still not really learning until, and I don't know if they'll ever learn, to be honest. Maybe years down the line after we're fucking dead, you know, maybe esports will become a bigger thing than it is now. But I mean, obviously, people have tried to take this path down, you know, trying to make it like traditional sports, and it's just not great. I mean,
I don't mind it if there's a logic, you know, like some things of sports obviously are brilliant. We should definitely take some of them. But the problem with that example, like you gave there, it's like it doesn't really make sense for like a player in a virtual game to have like a jersey number, especially when the jersey number isn't really associated. Like the whole point
you can't even see it.
Yeah, the whole point of why that works in the sport is you spend half the time looking at the jersey. You need the number to know who the guy is. So like that's one of those ones where like I always call it like cargo cult thinking, if you know what those are, where essentially it's like they think, well, if that's what a sport does and we do the same thing, you know, question mark, then we're a real sport. It's like you missed out whatever the mechanism was of why they were doing it, you know.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we have to Overwatch up and down in it. I mean, isn't Overwatch the same game where people have been force feeding me for the last 3 years that they're going to do an awesome job geolocating, and now the team that bought the most expensive slot, the fucking LA slot, is in China? What is this? The entire league is now nonsense. The entire premise is unraveled. You've got nothing, guys. You've just got a slightly better version of Team Fortress 2 or whatever.
I have a good question then for you then, Thorin, because you obviously bring that up. And listen, I have a ton of criticisms after Overwatch after I've left it. And it was part of the reason that like I mentioned how in season 3, like last year, okay, so the Overwatch League's now on season 4. During the entire course of season 4, I was like watching, you know, the viewership numbers and stuff like that. And I was like, I don't know how I could stay in the game mentally when I'm seeing that the game is not really doing that well, you know? So do you think that because Overwatch League, I mean, it still can be successful. There's still room for it. You know, we're not totally down on it too bad. But, I mean, obviously, Monty was still high on it. But do you think you can inflate and, like, force these esports? Like, for example, Valorant. Could you make it a franchise system, like, right off the bat, like, force an esport? Or does it have to be grassroots?
I mean, the tough thing about that is, as far as I can tell, it's like a bit of both. But to me, the part where people get lost is the grassroots part. It has to be for the casual player base. In my opinion, if you have a grassroots casual player base, almost every game that had a large casual viewer eventually got some sort of an esport. It's basically what League of Legends like brute force. Like they actually weren't very good with their esports conversion center. They did a lot of things very poorly, but they just had such an absurd number of people casually playing the game that even if they converted, I'm going to make up like a rough number here, like 1 to 5 rate of like people who hardcore watch the game for esports versus the casual fan. Let's say in Counter-Strike that number was 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, a much better conversion rate. It is a numbers game, so if you scale high enough like League of Legends, it doesn't matter. So I think it's not impossible for Valorant. I will say though, the game's already been out quite a while. Like people have had access to that beta for quite a while. Like to me, if it was really going to do like League of Legends type numbers, it probably already started. Like what would it be waiting for? Like that's the part. It's kind of what you were implying in the question there is like, I don't think essentially, and Overwatch League's probably the best example, is I don't think you can like artificially create an esport and then people come. It's not like the Field of Dreams scenario. I think it's the other way around. Yeah. You've got to kind of have like a group of people, maybe they're not into the esport yet, maybe you haven't created that part, and then you just steer them towards it. You can maybe do that. I don't think you can just put up a sign somewhere and go, massive esports league, everyone hop on, because I think Overwatch League tried that quite frankly.
That's what they did. Yeah. Well, okay. So do you not think that, for example, with Valorant, do you not think that they're pretty much at the, because CSGO has been around for a while, specifically CS has been around for a while, but do you not think so? If you remember back when CSGO came out, like everybody hated it, obviously, right? Like people were like, oh, this is shit, and that kind of is like the situation that Valorant's in, except Valorant doesn't have the years and years of history pretty much to actually develop into a good FPS. Do you not think that that's in the situation they're in? They're not at that like beginning phase where it's just honestly not that great of a game, because Counter-Strike's had years to become what it is, right?
Yeah, but actually, I think that's why Counter-Strike is in a very unusual situation, because one thing a lot of people might not know about CSGO is CSGO, and like you said, CS Source was around, but like 1.6 was the main version we were still playing at the time. There isn't actually like a slow transition between those two games. What happens, no exaggeration, is the biggest tournament circuit in the world for CS 1.6 was ESLs. It was the Intel Extreme Masters. And they literally just decided at the end of a season, we're just going to kill it dead. Like it's not in the next season no matter what, even though at the time it was doing very good numbers. I think it was because they wanted to replace it with, I don't think it was League of Legends. I think it was maybe some other game at the time. Might have been League of Legends, actually. That might have been the first year they, made that like the main game or whatever. So CSGO itself, actually, as you say, was a pretty bad game. Like it wasn't even that popular early on. I actually thought this game was going to die in Counter-Strike. The franchise would die. But the problem with that is the fact is that most of us who are around kind of put it down to why it succeeded, and ones that I think are like, they call it like what you call like a black swan. It's something out of nowhere that you can't predict. It's essentially things like they made the skins. There was gambling sort of implied that you could do it. They didn't like totally write it off, but they let it happen for years and years. Like these things, as far as I know, won't be the same in Valorant. Like I don't know exactly what the skin economy is like in that game, but it doesn't seem like that's as big a side. It seems like people play the game, if anything, right? The CS itself had this crazy period where before it got massive in terms of viewership, it was already getting like raw viewers just from people gambling. There would be people, who they maybe play the game casually, and then they were like, right, this match is on, so how do I know who to bet on? Not watch the stream for half an hour, and then eventually, 2 weeks later, that guy's watching the games all the time.
So do you think Counter-Strike was kind of lucky in getting away with that for so long? Because like I was, for example, I was betting on that shit when I was, I don't know if it's like criminally sends me into the fucking, I don't know if it's going to send me to jail or something like that, but I used to go to CSGO Lounge when I was like, I don't know, 16 and stuff like that for like, for fucking like years and years. And I'd always bet on like my favorite teams like SKDC and stuff like that. So some of those teams back in the day. But, then fucking they started to crack down and everybody started to be like, okay, maybe this shit shouldn't be allowed for 14-year-olds to gamble because it's real money. And, it did kind of give Counter-Strike that boost that Valorant probably will never get.
Probably the most misunderstood part, mate, of the history of Counter-Strike is like every other game, right? Whenever a game succeeds, everyone just turns around to the dev and they go, oh, well done, you planned all this out so well. What a genius you are. Meanwhile, like half those, if you know the history of most great esports games, you just make a great game. And if you get lucky, it usually works out in a totally different way in the multiplayer that you never intended for, but you just got lucky. You just made it through. It's like survivorship bias. So a lot of people probably won't know this, but essentially, like Valve has almost fuck all to do with why CS is still a big game. Yeah. Because as I say, like they didn't basically support 1.6 at all. That game was entirely just like grassroots in the community and then the esports industry picking up the baton. Valve did nothing with that. They didn't even give any of the prize money throughout the whole game. And then in CSGO, a lot of people might not know this, Valve didn't even make CSGO. They literally cynically shopped it out to a company called third-party Path Entertainment, the people who actually fixed Source at the end. And basically, as far as I can tell, they were just doing it as a cynical cash-in on the franchise. Like, they knew that people of a new generation, maybe someone like you, will say, well, I used to play CS, 10 years ago. Oh, the new game's out. I'll give it a go with my friends. Like, they basically just did it like that. So when it wasn't popping off for the first few years, I don't think Valve cared. I think they kind of like min-maxed it. They didn't spend very much on the development. I'm sure they made decent sales just on
because it was a rip-off, basically.
Yeah, and I think actually what happened is they just kind of got lucky and backdoored the whole esports scene out of the gambling and the other stuff like that. And then also, like, again, it's another scene where basically the scene runs itself for you. You don't have to run ESL or DreamHack or whatever. So I think, if anything, they just did that thing where, like, last minute, it was like when you have a kid who's like, I guess maybe pro gamers could appreciate this. You have the kid where it's like, you know what, this one's probably going to disappoint me. I won't put too much stock in this guy. But then he becomes like the pro gamer or the tech billionaire. You're like, oh, buddy, come here, favorite son. I always said you should stick with, what makes you happy. That's what's going to, I think Valve just did that at the end. They just tried to, like, claim it as their son. Because, like I say, they didn't make anything about Counter-Strike 8.
Well, and they still don't, right? I mean, obviously, people noticed how in Dota 2, like, Gabe would come to the events, to TI and stuff like that. Gabe never has been to a major. And even nowadays, Valve, like you meant, like I saw the show you did the other day with G2 CEO and also with Liquids.
Yep.
You guys mentioned how there's, like, no revenue, and what they're trying to, like, get is revenue from gun skins, right? And stuff like that. They're actually trying to get skins to pay for the revenue, but Valve's still not supporting the developers in Counter-Strike orgs. Like I've heard, like, a lot of people, and listen, I've been a fan of Counter-Strike, like I mentioned, since I was a kid, basically, and it seems like it's getting even more and more, harder to warrant investing in Counter-Strike, because you're just tossing, like Hastro said, you're tossing money into a fire pit, it feels like, right?
Yeah, listen, the problem with that whole debate is I think both sides of it have, like, a valid argument. Like, basically, the people who don't like to invest in Counter-Strike right now, you'll notice there's a massive correlation that they're all the people with the Overwatch and the LCS slots. And their logic goes like this. True. It goes, well, the problem is, if, at least with the LCS or the Overwatch League slot, at least I, in theory, have an asset that, it could be worth more in the future, and I can hold on to it, and, it doesn't just disappear. Whereas the problem with Counter-Strike always will be, until we have some sort of a league like that, what we're actually trying to do with Flashpoint and CSGO, which don't have that much success yet, is basically CSGO is so hard the other way, because Valve, like, ideologically basically treat esports games like that old school fucking movie The Wizard, and don't understand it's an actual sport. So they really, no joke, want it to be that if me and you right now make a team, in theory, if we win all our matches, we qualify to the next World Championship. Now, anyone who knows sports knows that's just a waste of everyone's time, because 99% of us who compete in that qualifier are never even going to make it through. We're just wasting the time of the people who actually will make it through the qualifier with pointless games. So the problem is, I don't actually think in that sense that they actually, like, know anything about esports. I think they have a very, very flawed concept of what the game is going to be. So put it this way, if I invest the same millions I was going to in my Overwatch League team, and I get all the best players in Counter-Strike, you know what, like, it's slightly changed now, but this is the way it used to be up until the last major. Let's say I make top 8 at the major, I'm maybe even going to win, whether I win or whether I don't. If those players, the day after that major, leave my team, contracts run out, or, like whatever, that break the contract with them, they can go to another team with that major spot. Like, they carry everything. They basically hold all the value. I don't have anything. I'm just leasing the value temporarily. So, like, I think CS, I understand a lot of the problems with it. The problem is this: having all these lack of, like, regulation does make the scene straight fire. I mean, it's like when you guys had it briefly in Overwatch at the beginning of the game. Let's be real. It's not just because of the failures of the Overwatch League. Nothing in Overwatch ever matched up to those early Apex tournaments, even the first Western tournaments, the MLG, etc., that FaZe was winning. Like, mate, there's something about a tournament circuit, especially one that, like, you can openly compete in, and the game dev doesn't just, like, make everyone have the same rules. It's just the best sort of esport to watch, in my opinion. Like, that was my favorite period of Overwatch. I thought it was amazing when you had the proper East and West dynamic going, and depending who went to the tournament.
Are you anti-franchise a little bit then? Are you like a little bit anti? Yeah. So why is that then? Because I know it happened in Counter-Strike at the very, very beginning, obviously, or they attempted to, right? I mean, I think Richard Lewis used to talk about that.
It was in Source, yeah.
Oh, that was in Source, yeah, and that absolutely fucking failed, right? So, and are you just like, why are you against anti-franchising, you think? Is it just is it just a waste of money? Do you think there's actually better alternatives to just franchising systems or franchising sports and esports?
Basically, here's the reason why. I've got a very simple explanation, probably not one you've ever heard, which is I'm not a fucking loser. So I know I'm good, so I'll bet on myself. And then when I win, I'll take all the money. And you might go, well, what if me or you win, Thorin? Why don't you just bet equally on both of us? And then if I win, I'll give you a share. I'll go, you know what, mate? I'll bet on myself. I'll take all your fucking cheddar. I'll eat all your cake, and you can just sit there poor. So basically, what I don't like is, The reason why Americans fucking love that franchise system is because it's a cartel. You just get a group of owners together and you go, right, if collectively we can all somehow make the money and then we all split it, that's great, right? I'd go, no, because why the fuck would I help you, my 8 competitors? I'll just take all the money, guys. I'll beat all of you. So I come from kind of like a European mentality in that sense. If you're actually good, bet on yourself. Why would I like do the opposite and go, well, I want to be involved, but I don't want to lose too much money? Well, get the fuck out then. This is an entrepreneur's sport, mate. This isn't like invested in the S&P 500 index and you're going to gradually get a return over time. Like, this is a passion industry, you fucking clown. So I get why Americans want to do it. It's because it's like the NFL. The premise is you can be the worst franchise, but as long as the NFL succeeds, we all make some money. And that just isn't my way of approaching life, though. You know, like I don't like to like hedge my bet. I like to just go for broke and bet on myself, you know. So I think in Counter-Strike, in my opinion, there are a lot of upsides can come with a franchise system. But I think there's a lot of downsides that I don't like. Like, I don't know how much you follow CSGO the last few years, but I'll give you a quick example. 2 years ago, we used to still have those things called LANs. We actually had a year where 2 teams got to top 4 in the world. One is actually an amazing team right now called Vitality. And them getting to top 4 in the world was just the fact that they were brand new org in CS. The other one was a very small organization, started actually by one of the guys behind the LYON, which is a team called ENCE from Finland. And they literally, no joke, became like number 2 or number 3 team in the world. Now, if you understand the way franchise systems works, you would have never seen either of these 2 teams because the ENCE team wouldn't be big enough to buy in, and the Vitality team was brand new, so they'd have had to buy someone else's slot and go all in from day one. So basically, I think competitively, you can't really beat an open system because it just means if you're the best, you can just be the best. Like, think about this, right? This is just hypothetical. Imagine there was a world where even though you have all the Overwatch League franchises, there was a spot for like an amateur team to qualify each time. Now just imagine the power someone like Fisher has if you bench him. And he goes, you know what, fuck you. I'm just going to go get 5 Koreans I know in Korea that you don't know yet that are the shit. And I'm going to come back and I'm going to qualify. When I qualify, then you all have to come that, you know, I'll go to the top bidder. Now the power dynamic changed completely. Whereas instead, you have a scene in Overwatch, mate, where a team lost 42 straight matches and didn't get relegated. Like, competitively, I think it's pretty hard to argue, like, in favor of a franchise system. I think franchise systems about the business side. So I'm not a businessman, so I don't have to worry about that, luckily. I can be selfish and say I just want the best teams to play.
Well, because I know how you mentioned specifically with ENCE and with their whole story and stuff like that. And then also, but the thing is, when you look at competitively, like, how are you supposed to compete in a game like, for example, Yampy? Like, Yampy with ENCE recently just got fucking permabanned for cheating on when he was 13. Now, he said it was his friend or whatever. He went through excuses, but he still pretty much got permabanned for fucking playing the game. So how are you supposed to, I guess, keep the competitive integrity when, like, for example, Valve has just been dog shit, like you mentioned. Like, they've just been terrible with their competitive scene. So, like, aren't you hedging yourself also, like, against the actual developer if they're a shit developer?
I don't know, maybe this is one of some of the videos you skipped, mate, but I'm probably the biggest skeptic of developers in general. Like, I think all developers are overrated as fuck. Every one of them thinks they actually invented esports or their own esport. And as I just said before, I don't think any of them did. I'm not joking. I could even take your fucking sacred gods of fucking Blizzard, mate, down a peg or two. Because first of all, anyone who worked on a Blizzard game in the last 10 years almost certainly did not play a major role in any of the classic Blizzard games we all claim to love. You know, Warcraft, Warcraft 2, StarCraft, you know, like none of these games. These are all like, these are the Johnny come latelys. Like, best case scenario, that guy was like the janitor on that game, and now he's, you know, the head of production. So, in my opinion, again, like I say, it's all after the fact explaining stuff away. So I think all the game devs are mega overrated. And best case scenario, all they have proven they can do is make games. So my solution is simple. Great, just fucking shut up and make the games. My problem is that they also go, well, I made this brilliant game where I move a lot of troops around. Oh, you're probably amazing at running a massive global economy based on your game. What? Like, I don't get that logic at all, mate. I've always thought it's whack as fuck. So as far as I can tell, the game devs only ruin the games. Like, even the ones that sort of work, like League of Legends, like I say, they brute force that, mate. Like, if you saw how much money they spent versus what they got, it's actually outrageous, you know?
Yeah. No, to me, it seems like it's like the idea that somebody that's been doing something for a long time and honing the craft got even that basically just put them in the lottery for actually becoming good at doing something, right? For example, in Counter-Strike, you know, like the people that have played for years and years and years, some of them maybe never got good, but then you have the get rights that have been playing since the beginning and actually got very, very good. But then you have somebody that comes in and just like is like knows fuck all, like for example, and just like was playing League of Legends, for example, the entire time. And they're like, oh, I can be good at Counter-Strike. I was good at League of Legends. And they're just absolutely dog shit, right? It's kind of like that, I guess, to some degree, where it's like you can't just transfer your skills from skills. Like it's like, for example, my show can be complete dog shit. You know, I'm just a pro player. I'm not a host, you know, I've never hosted a show before. But you can learn, you could try to do something, but it could end up flopping. But it's the bet on yourself mentality. But then you have kind of like people that have gone scene to scene. This is kind of the transition. It's a little bit of a weird one.
All right.
But you have like Elige, for example, in Counter-Strike. Elige is probably one of those players that you'd say is just kind of, you know, good at video games. Like I don't know what he got ranks. He got high rank in StarCraft, got high rank in Overwatch. He probably could have gotten professional in.
Sure.
Yeah. Do you think that there's players that could go from game to game and actually could play them at a high level and could be a professional player like Elige or Sinatra or whatever?
Oh, I mean, obviously you've listed some examples. I would say generally, though, they're probably like, you know, what you call the exception that proves the rule. Like, I think most players won't make it. Like, probably the most egregious examples are actually in Counter-Strike. A lot of people don't know this, is that most of the players who were really great CS Source players, a lot of those became very good CSGO players because the game's like vaguely more similar to that of 1.6. But in terms of like crossover from 1.6 to CSGO, it's actually pretty terrible, mate. Like, I don't know if you know this, but the player who used to play for that Polish team, Virtus.pro in CSGO, called Neo.
Oh, yeah, I know.
He was an all right player in CSGO. You know, he was like a clutch player. He could be like a spot. Mate, he was like the god in 1.6. Like, he was like Michael Jordan in prime, like unstoppable. And his skills didn't translate. Like, some of it did, you know, like how to be smart in the game. But he just never like he never sort of had the feel for the engine. So one of the things I would say is like, I think you either need like a very specific skill set. So like, for example, someone like Elise is extremely mechanically talented, so it wouldn't surprise me that some of that translates. But I would say probably the bigger aspect is actually something that Get Right himself told me in my interview with him recently, which I think is missed by a lot of people, which is that it's super hard, but you've got to have like a mentality where it's like, you have to pretend you don't know any of those things you just said, that you didn't just play a different game for it. You almost have to like have a pure beginner's mind and start over. Because basically that makes a lot of sense to me. Because I would have thought the same thing, like, wow, he was amazing in one version of the game, then the next version he's immediately good in, must just be a super similar game. Yeah. But his philosophy was like, no, it's the opposite. It's like, I just forgot I ever played Counter-Strike and I started from square one. Because I do think, unfortunately, when you play a lot of games, that you are going to have so many habits built into what you do that this is why we need coaching. You're not going to question them. Yeah, they're just going to be part of your game. I mean, listen, did you actually play Team Fortress before Overwatch?
No, I never. I barely played it. I scammed kids for earbuds. Yeah, I just only game there for money, pretty much. Yeah, and then no, I played Counter-Strike. That's what I was saying. I was trying to play professionally Counter-Strike for my high school era, and then I realized I was never going to be good because I was like, oh, all these people have years ahead of me, and I'm not even 18 at the time. Like, that's why people like anomalies like Stewie 2K, for example, are absolutely fucking insane to me. Like, the people that go pro in a game years after it's already developed, like, that must be fucking hard as shit because people are, you know, years and years of experience ahead of you, right? Or do you think age kind of catches up to some people? This is kind of off topic, I suppose.
I think it depends on the game. Because I have to say, esports games actually don't seem to very well hold like what you're talking about here. Like, put it this way, the best example is like traditional sports. Even though ironically, you would think a traditional sport should be all about physical aspects. Like, as you mentioned the NBA earlier, like there's a famous saying in the NBA, and it's true. If you can shoot in the NBA, you can basically just play until your body gives out. Like, you could literally be like a 40-year-old guy, but if you can just shoot a spot-up three-point shot when no one's defending you and you just move the court position, you can be like the 13th man on a roster for many, many years. Yeah, of course, there's loads of those guys. So the real reason they keep those guys around, it's not because there's not like a million kids coming out of high school who can shoot a three-pointer, but it's because if he can do that one basic task, and we're only asking him to be like the worst player on the team, now all of his intangibles come into play, don't they? Like being a veteran, he knows how to play properly, he maybe helps other teammates. I think like that's the bigger issue is esports games don't really seem to retain those intangibles very, very well. Like once your mechanical skills fall off, I feel like you just drop out of these games really quickly.
Yeah. Well, so do you think there is an idea that you could develop that over time if the scene, maybe if esports become more developed? Do you think those veteran players could be more seen, or like, no, you just think they're just fucking done? Like once you're past a certain age, once you're 26, 27 or whatever. I think you've done videos in the past about age, right? I don't remember exact take. It's just like you say that people peak at like 24 or 23, 24, 25 even, right? Or something like that. I don't remember. This was years ago when you made the actual video on this I watched.
Put it this way, I think personally you can play till in theory almost any age. Like I say, until like we see like a more than negligible degrade in your mechanics, I don't see why you couldn't keep playing. In my opinion, part of it, I actually think this is one of the things about esports is fascinating, is that it's even though people will think it's old, because I've been around 20 years, like it wasn't esports when I started, it was people just playing Quake or whatever. It shouldn't even be called like an industry back then. That's why I always balk at the idiots who were like, esports began with Space War in 1974. It's like, shut the fuck up, mate. You're like some Blizzard employees who decided that after the fact. Like, nobody started with esports back then. So the point I'm getting to is this, though. I actually think even basic concepts like coaching, like the development cycle of a player, how to maintain their skills. I think we know almost nothing about these topics. Like, to an extent, that's actually embarrassing. And in fact, actually, age of players is probably the number one factor. Because I think what happens with most players is you just play the game, you happen to be good, so you go pro. Stop right there, mate. Every other story's told the other way. It's told us like, well, I always wanted to be a pro and I was always no, nobody did that. Nobody. Everyone just plays the game, and if you're good, you think about going pro. If you're semi-pro, you go, I could maybe beat this pro. You backdoor into that. So in the same sense, right, I don't think we know how you actually get good. I don't think we know how you stay good. I definitely don't think we know how you like counteract falling off, etc. To some degree, it's almost just like it's like the weather. We just go, oh, well, today it's sunny. Great. Oh, fuck, it's raining now. We don't have a clue what we're doing here.
It's all luck, It's all kind of like you mentioned, like I wasn't, because I always was playing a kid. I was a kid, and I was like, okay, I'm never gonna be tall. Like I was like, my genetics, it's not in me to be a 6'3" genetic freak to go pro in the NFL or whatever. So that's what I was saying. When I was 16, I was just looking for the game to play professionally, and kind of got lucky. Like Overwatch came out when I was 18, then I was like, okay, I want to play this game professionally. Not because I actually liked the game, by the way. It was just because it was like the game to play, I guess. But it's interesting.
Sure.
Yeah, well, it's pretty interesting because you mentioned how you're always like for the competitive mindset. That's what you want is the true competitors to come out, and that's actually what matters, not the franchise system. And Monte Cristo was on the show the other day and mentioned how sports teams, and I don't know if he said esports teams directly, but are kind of like luxury items. And I think you're on that similar boat where it's like you shouldn't be making money off esports anyway. Just get like the number one competition, get the best competition out of the game, and then that matters more than anything else, right?
I mean, put it this way, if someone wants to do it as a business, that's fine. I would say right now, I don't think you're going to make very much money. Essentially, you're gambling and speculating no matter where the industry's at. But I agree, like essentially what you were laying out there, I'm not sure what Monty said specifically, but that's kind of my gist, is basically, I don't know why someone comes in esports and goes, right, this is where I'm going to make money. It's like, mate, if you're talented already, there's a million places you can make money. In fact, there's parts of the industry of esports that don't involve having a team or a tournament where you can make loads of fucking money. Like obvious examples would be like streaming content, stuff like that. Essentially, they don't lose money; they just make money. So to me, that's the point. Is I think if you have an esports team, at least at this point in time, unless you're claiming to be playing 7D chess, you know it'll be worth $1 billion in 10 years. Realistically, it is just you have it to accomplish what it can do in the game. You're not doing it for business reasons. So kind of like luxury sports items, like having an NFL team or an English Premier League team in soccer, like if you have that team and you're a billionaire, you bought that team to watch it win. You bought it to have the types of players you want to watch play for it, or a certain style of play. Maybe if it's some team like the Raiders or something, have a historical like approach to the game. Like I think that's the best reason to be in it, not least because it has something pure about it, which is because you're trying to win and you're not thinking, well, is it worth the money I'd pay for this guy versus what it's worth? Instead, there's a purity of just going like, I'm just going to get the best players I can and try and win in the game. To me, that's actually somewhat as an org, that's got the same ethos as when we all began as players 20 years ago. You just play the game to be the best, don't you? You don't play to go, but if I finish 7th, I still get 100,000. Like, there's something a bit whack about that, Like, I know people do it because it's kind of like, it's just like people are obsessed with money and whatnot. But there's something a bit whack about that, If you play for first. So why would it be different if you're a team owner? You're team owner for first, aren't you?
So this is because this is a little bit against your philosophy then. So I had a question for you. So if you owned a team specifically, if you had the Thorin Duncan Shields team, like what would you, in order to make money, because this is, okay, so this is like a different mentality obviously than yours, but if you had a team, what would your path to making the team profitable be? Would you go down hiring the best, most competitive players? Or would you be going to content creation? Would you say, fuck, competitive sports, I just got to absolutely focus on ways to make money, and esports is not one of them?
What was the first part of the question again? Like the premise is I have an esports team, right?
Yeah.
And then
if you owned a team and it has to be profitable, it absolutely has to be profitable.
I must make money, right? Okay.
You must make money. What's the fastest way you can make money, or pretty much the way you can make your esports team profitable? Like that would be the ideal
The problem
solution.
is basically, if I have to make money, I almost certainly probably can't sign the best players. Like I could maybe sign like one and then I have to gamble on a bunch of players. Logically, content is the obvious angle to go with. Like even though people have done a million of those like reality series, etc., I actually don't think they're very well done. And from knowing some of the people who make those shows, they tend to be pretty inexperienced people in the field of media, or or worse, they come from another field and they just don't know esports that well. So I actually personally think like some of the teams, like I'm stunned, mate, to this day that, for example, like FaZe, if you know what their CSGO team's been like, probably had some of like they've put it this way, in the last like 4 years, FaZe Clan might have had like 6 or 7 players who are going to be in a Hall of Fame one day for Counter-Strike, and they had almost no content there. Like, they never had a reality series. They didn't even have fucking content when they would win a tournament. It was crazy. So, like, to me, the bigger your personalities, and especially the more resources you've got, so I'm assuming it's like a real business, I would put massive amounts of time and attention into the content. Like, I would want my fans to feel like they have unprecedented access. They're following the game. And by the way, I even think that could itself make a really cool sort of feedback loop, which is the reason I pick a team like FaZe, is if you join FaZe, you're not supposed to be joining to be like, listen, I'm a very meek, mild-mannered player and I just want to keep myself to myself. No, if you join FaZe, you're supposed to be like Baby Bay and be like, look, I'm a big personality. I'm here to get a lot of fans. Win or lose, I'm going to talk shit. So in my opinion, if you have a team like that and you tell people, by the way, if you join, there's going to be an incredibly intrusive, reality series. They can't really say no, can they? That's kind of what the point of being in FaZe is. So I even think that would work out. I think it'd be an awesome feat. So I'd love it, by the way. Even if my team's losing, great. Let's make money off the loss. Let's fucking go.
So how do you convince somebody like Nico that would, equally get as much money somewhere else to fucking do that? You can't, because he just wants to win. He has the same mindset. He's like, fuck content. I'm just going to try to win, and I get paid, a lot of money, $30,000 a month or whatever. Probably more than that now, I imagine. But, like, how do you convince those guys to fucking take that deal and to actually be like, go into content? Because I can guarantee you, no esports pros actually want to do content, and maybe after they're retired, they'll fucking do it. Or your Baby Bay. And then you'll be like, that's where you make your money.
Basically, that is the biggest problem right now in esports. It isn't any other factor. It's that pro players to this day, mate, a million of them as your teammates. We could sit them all down now, and the sheer number of them who think that what they do inside the server is not just like paying their paycheck, but making their boss money is unbelievable. They don't get it at all.
Really?
They don't, these guys, mate, if I talk to some of the players you're referencing, like players of that stature, some of these people actually think they're being cheated. Like, they don't know that essentially their owner just pays them money he never makes, because at the moment he wants to have this place in the industry and he hopes, in the future it's worth a lot. So basically, I guess what I'm trying to say here is I agree with you. I think most pros don't get it. So that would be one thing I definitely wouldn't do, is I wouldn't just pick like, Nico, you're a good player. I'd have to go the other way. I'd have to be like, right, here's a bunch short list of players. Who gets it? Which one of you understands that, what might do more for my business next year is not that we win the major, but like in trying to win the major, we produce a really entertaining reality series. And from that, I can spin off a project with you, and a different activation with this guy. That's how we're going to make the money. Like, the problem is though, you have to have a pretty shrewd sense of media and business, and most ball players don't have that at all.
No, because you mentioned how, like, Dennis would always get drunk and walk up to you, like, being like, oh, he got mad at you, basically, right, for what you've said and shit like that in the past, because people have a fucking ego. Like, most pro players, especially me, like when Monty called me, like, a binary player, like, somebody that wasn't good, like, at the time, I was like, oh, fuck, this guy's being an asshole. He's, like, fucking directly calling me out for being bad at the game. And it's like, okay, in hindsight, okay, maybe it wasn't that great, But, most people have that same mindset where they're like, okay, this guy's talking shit. I'm going to go up to his face and tell him he's talking shit. Or they just will be little bitches and probably say it in the server or something like that. But, most pro players don't have that mindset, I guess. I guess growing up is probably a large part of it. Maybe that's why people stop playing, is because they get rid of that ego and then they become bad and then they just move on to something else, right?
Oh, I think that's definitely part of it. Like, put it this way, most of those pros we referred to before who they dropped off when they're 26, mate, the second those guys turn 25, every shot they miss, they're like, just don't have the old bloody reflexes I used to have. Like, that was yesterday. What are you talking about? There's like a self-fulfilling prophecy angle to that, in my opinion, yeah.
So on that note, because I know Skadoodle right now is in, this is really off, I guess it's still on the same note, but Skadoodle is now on T1 and joined in Valorant. But as you know, obviously he did retire, right? After the Cloud9's major, he retired somewhere around
he retired maybe like
was it before
4 or 5 months after that.
Yeah. So do you think that he should have, for example, with Skadoodle, do you think that he should have stayed retired in like Counter-Strike or whatever? Do you think that these people, once they get into that mind state of like, okay, I'm done, like, couldn't they ever come back? Could Skadoodle ever come back? Because he's not really been that good in Valorant.
I can't think of anyone off the top of my head in an esports game who did like a real retirement. Because, like, let's be real, the type of retirement Skadoodle did, for people who don't know the context, is if we go back in time to, like, I don't know, 2015, he was legitimately like an amazing player, maybe the best American player, one of the best in the world. But the period we're talking about when he retired in 2018, he was already like over a year of like, being propped up by great memories and nostalgia and teammates like you, and you're not a guy who causes trouble. Like, nothing to do with being good at the game. So if we're talking about a retirement where effectively you just aren't good enough to play anymore, like here's the thing, maybe he could be a pro, but you'd have to be a pro now for like, the 8th best NA team. So like no one good's gonna sign him. If you have to retire for that reason, I agree. You probably aren't gonna like. For like, put it this way, I always say it's the same even in the same game, mate. Like if you try to make a comeback in the same game, in my opinion, whatever factors made you think about retiring are only going to be worse now. Like now you're out of form, you haven't watched it a long time. It's obviously really hard to grind back to even whatever level you're at when you quit. So yeah, put it this way, I haven't watched Canoodle in Valorant, but I would go ahead and guess he won't be a top player. Even though as far as I've been told by people like the Ops, apparently OP is fucking that game, but he just wasn't that good at the end of what.
Recently.
At the end of what, at CSGO, he wasn't that great, mate. And plus, also, he was someone where, as far as I know, I think even when he was really good, he wasn't someone who was like a practice fiend. So if you throw all that together, it just makes sense that you're not going to be that great, are you?
No, yeah, and that's interesting. Well, because so to come back on to NA, because you mentioned how he wouldn't even be the best on a top NA team, and then also earlier you talked about how coaching is kind of underrated, and then specifically in Counter-Strike, and then it is pretty important to have good coaches. We had Goomba, the coach of Immortals Valorant team, and then he also coached on the LA Valiant. We talked to him, and he mentioned how it's been kind of suppressed. Like Counter-Strike coaches have kind of been seen as something that's not that good, and that's kind of holding back the tier, like the NA scene. Do you think that like they've been suppressed, that people were talking about, like MDL, for example? MDL is kind of not necessarily a joke, but it's been kind of like people, like there's been reports of people match fixing, like even the pros that are trying to play professionally Valorant have been match fixing. There's now the people that came out today for being toxic and racist and stuff like that. Like, do you think that there's any way to kind of bring back NA, or is NA just absolutely fucking dead like everybody in all these clickbait articles are saying? Is NA just fucking dead in Counter-Strike or no?
The good news is this. I actually am, in theory, the most optimistic person ever for NA in esports. But here's the reason why. It's because I just look what you guys did in sports that worked. And actually, this would translate completely, in my opinion, which is, I think one of the reasons why people are so bad who are Americans in esports is because they literally go from one day shit posting on 4chan to taking a breath, and they're now a professional player and they're meant to win the world championship. Like, mate, that guy has no pedigree in sports. He was just good at a video game. I mean, if you ever seen my shows, you know I don't give a fuck about pro players. Like, if any pro player who's just good mechanically talk shit to me, I'm like, mate, you're good at wriggling your wrist. I'm good at talking, outthinking you, entertaining. I could go for years, mate. You can just wiggle your wrist. That's it. So basically, this is the point, right? What you need in America is what you have in sports, which you've done an amazing job with, which is, in America, you get coached by the time you're like 8 years old. You start in the coaching system in a sport, then you go to school, then you go to college. Like, so the point is, there's no athlete in any major American sport coming out of college like, coaching, is that even a thing? He's had it his entire life. Like, he takes it for granted that in the same way as the sun will rise and the wind will blow, there will be a coach who tells him what to do. And I think one of the problems that has gone the other way, though, in American sports is, I never used to get why pro players to this day would say stupid shit like, well, how could my coach know better than me? It's like, I think this must come from American football, mate, because American football is a bizarre sport that, like, the coach does know completely the tactics better than almost every player just because of how complicated it is, right? But the reason why that's weird to me, mate, is because obviously, like, soccer is probably the most popular major sport. In soccer, some of the coaching is just what they do in esports. It's like you manage egos, you make sure people have meaningful discussions, you make sure that when people need to shut up, they shut up, you make sure that people practice. Like, you don't go in and go, like, nobody imagines that, like, Lionel Messi's going, oh, how do I kick the ball? Like, he knows all that. But what's bizarre is we're still stuck in 2021 on the straw man of stupid ass pros. Could be the Sonatas of the world, who again are brilliant at wiggling their wrist, but do they fucking hell know anything about setting a team? What would that guy know about communication, about how to control a team, how to develop? He wouldn't know any of that. These are totally different skill sets. So I think as soon as you have esports is a thing that's been around for like 40 years. So the idea is the kid who plays the game in 20 years from now will have been coached, in school, and then the collegiate level, then he'll go to his amateur scene. Obviously, it wouldn't be an Overwatch, because you can't be a fucking amateur and go into pro play. We all know that. But unless someone wants a discount this year. So unless you have that system, I think Americans will always have like a disconnect. Because if you notice, right, one thing I always found really weird about American esports compared to European esports is we don't have that thing in Europe in the same way of like a jock and a nerd. And I noticed this a few years ago. All the American pro players are nerds, of course, right? So they even come from a mindset where this is really bad in League of Legends, mate. In League of Legends, you can't even properly criticize these guys because they're all little shy nerds who then just go in their shell like, oh, I'm being abused or something like. So you can't even be a coach and tell them like, what the fuck are you doing? And book it up. Like, what's it? You can't even do that. So I think it's just got to be a culture shift. But it'll happen eventually if esports goes long enough, in my opinion. Because, like I say, in sports, I think you guys have nailed it in terms of like how you bring someone from being a talented kid to a pro who's ready on theory day one of being a pro.
Yeah, I don't entirely disagree with you because my theory, at least, is definitely part of that. I think that first of all, like the structure is not there. The whole thing, like in Korea, they have a lot more structure. They can go to PC Bang or whatever. The Korea, like everybody's a lot more professional over there. But also, and my theory was, and I don't know if you agree with me, my theory is that a lot of our players in NA are actually playing on console right now because consoles are actually a lot bigger, obviously. So like, and obviously in Call of Duty, they dominate. Like there's not many like EU or pretty much outside of EU. There's really nobody that competes with NA in Call of Duty. So I don't know if you agree with me, but my theory is that everybody's just on console and still in NA. If they transition to PC, maybe that would mean we have a bigger talent pool, right?
Oh, that's definitely an issue. Like, let's face it. I mean, people actually don't know this in European esports. That's a massive problem the UK has. Like, the UK has some of the best players in, FIFA or whatever. The problem is, like, most of us don't give a fuck about FIFA's esports game. So every guy who's playing FIFA, or in your case, Call of Duty or something, if we specifically want one NA esport, Valorant or CSGO to succeed, you're taking those players out of the talent pool. Whereas, like, that's one area also I think a lot of people don't understand in South Korea, is in South Korea, in the same reason why they have all these massive K-pop bands that go around the world, it's like they've got a super homogenous culture where it's like, it kind of reminds me of what it used to be like back when I was a kid and there was only like 4 TV channels. So you could, the next day, you could always talk to someone about what you watched on television because there was like not even 1 in 4 because obviously some are more interesting. But the odds are he watched what you watched, right? That's what they're like to this day. Like, they like the same music, the same TV shows. And so when they do a game, they just go all in on that game. I mean, the whole reason why Overwatch was popping there is because it was just Overwatch and League of Legends. Those were the 2 games everyone was playing for like 2 years over there. Like, no one was playing CS, no one was playing fucking Quake or whatever. Like, these games don't even have a foothold. So, yeah, in my opinion, like, all South Korea showed is what happens if everyone just goes hard at the game. So, mate, imagine if North America did that at any game. I don't even care what you say about mentality or rest of it. Like, just brute force. You'd have some amazing players. Yeah. Of course.
Well, why wouldn't Russia be that like sort of powerhouse? Considering the fact, I mean, maybe they are in the Olympics. Russia's one of the best at the Olympics, right? Because they have such a big
they basically are.
Population.
Like I know. Again, I have to reference everything to Overwatch here because I don't know how much CS you watch.
Well, I know. I know Navi's pretty good right now. I watch a decent bit.
In the same way as there was people early in Overwatch when he could play, like obviously some of the Quake players, Cypher and Kulo, were playing, and fucking Shadowburn or whatever. Like there was players. Like I think basically CIS regions, so Russia, Ukraine, etc. It's like the US in the sense that like raw talent, it's one of the most talent-rich fields in the entire world, in my opinion. Like these regions can compete with the Koreas and the Chinas in terms of talent. The problem becomes like what they do with the rest of the game. Like actually in Counter-Strike, they had a very similar problem to what they had in North America in Counter-Strike, which is essentially because you have all these skilled players, but people are just playing like very simple style. All you get is really skilled players. That's all you produce. Well, that isn't what you want in a team, actually. You want some star players. You want a guy who's like in Counter-Strike, the support player just as a bitch. You want the in-game leader. Like, I don't think they developed a lot of the other roles. It just became like, it would be equivalent of if the NBA was just who can dunk. Like, there's a lot of basketball skills that have nothing to do with dunking. But if you already went for trying to dunk, you can have a very limited playing style when you make the team, no matter how good they are.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And specifically, I think we talked to, I don't know if you still have beef with Slasher, by the way. Do you guys still, I remember that was like years ago. There was, it's between Slasher and Richard Lewis or something like that. But we talked to Slasher that day. He said one of his goats of esport was actually, I don't know if it was Cooler or Vitality or something like that, but he said that some of those guys are actually some of the goats in all of esports. And I just wanted to ask you, like on an all of esports level, do you actually have like, I know it's a little bit of a change of topic again, but do you actually have like a GOAT of the entire esports scene, or do you think it's a little bit too hard? I think you'd probably be on the too hard to actually crossbreed scenes, right?
Yeah, the main problem obviously is like, even comparing games is tough, like some are team games, some are like individual games. And the biggest problem I think we have is like basically the main problem I think with answering that question goes like this. Every modern esports game in theory has an advantage over the Quakes, the kind of game players you were referencing, in terms of the scene is like 1,000 times bigger. So in theory, it's harder to win in these games. So for example, the obvious name that comes to mind is Faker from League of Legends. Like the actual amount of championships that guy won, and while the best player, is obscene. But the problem with that, of course, is, I mean, listen, I don't have to pull words with you, I consider League of Legends a little kids esports game. Like, I don't care how many championships he wins. Like, that doesn't make him better than the best CS or Quake player because I've revealed that those games. So to me, those games are just incredible. Like, so I don't know about that. Like, I think Faker's probably not a terrible shout. I personally was always a massive fan of Flash from StarCraft because I actually do think, like, if Koreans, like I said, all go hard at a game, they are the best. And he was like very dominant even when it was pretty developed already as an esport. It's not like he was 2001 or whatever. He was like the best in 2010. So I think he's probably a good middle ground of like really hard game, but amazing accomplishments over him.
Well, you think like overall it's too hard to like crossbreed and stuff like that. Say there's actually it's like saying there's the greatest sports player of all. It's like saying Michael Jordan was the best sports athlete of all time. But people can say like Wayne Gretzky, for example, is probably like the
I think
best
it's good
sports
fodder.
athlete
Here's
of
the
all
thing.
time.
That's great fodder for shows like this, for example. I actually personally think though that like I think everyone should do their own GOAT or GOATs, and like just because essentially doing it makes you figure out what you value most. And obviously we might value different things here. A lot of people just only value championships, for example. But in my opinion, like I don't think there's actually any sport, in my opinion, where there is like it has to be this guy. Like, no, it depends what you like about the sport, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, well, so in that regard, you obviously probably have a different opinion than me because you've watched it for so long. With Counter-Strike specifically, I wanted to know who is your great. I think you've done videos of this in the past, but it's probably been a while. Who do you think is the greatest player of all time in Counter-Strike, just as the whole entire genre?
See, the tough part about that is, like, I have two obvious candidates for me because I'm just going to go game by game. Like, in 1.6, I do think it was Neo. Like, basically, like, it's not even just, like, here's the thing. He did me a favor that he basically did win the most championships, but he also was just unbelievable. Like, the eye test for that player is, like, off the chain. Like, basically, just almost a perfect player in terms of how he approached all the different roles and scenarios. And in CSGO, I would just pick simple. I know people might think it's obscene. So, the highlights, you shouldn't be swayed by that, whatever. It's like, there's a reason why people who don't know much about basketball like basically worship Michael Jordan because just the eye test is unbelievable. You can't watch the guy and then think anything other than he's just unbelievable at the game. So like Simple probably has the craziest eye test. I think it may be all of esports.
When he's still young too.
He's still right in his prime, mate. So like I think that guy has a chance to just be like the best esports player ever. Forget any other game. He's that good.
So I want to get your take then. This will be the last question. I want to get your take on like ZywOo right now because ZywOo's been in the pro scene specifically for like what 2 years now or something like that. He's still. Do you think that he's on that trajectory as Simple, or is it's way too early to call it for ZywOo specifically?
But it's weird. I'll even give you the analogy because it's fresh right now. Basically, what ZywOo is doing is what Patrick Mahomes did in the NFL. Like just immediately awesome from like day one almost. Like, and so it doesn't matter whether you are yet the greatest player. Like. If you want to start and become the greatest player ever, these are the players who have the best start to their careers. Because again, the eye test is unbelievable, isn't it? Like you look at these players and you're like, they should be the best for 10 years, 15 years from now. So the advantage that ZywOo has over Simple is that they're both amazing right now. But as you say, like ZywOo's in his third year in theory. Simple's played for 5, 6, 7 years at this point in time. So like I think ZywOo, the exciting thing is he has a chance to maybe be the best Counter-Strike player ever. And he started really, really awesome. I don't think anyone ever started this well, but the problem with that is like to be the greatest ever that's like a longevity angle, isn't it? So I think one thing that's really misunderstood in esports is I've always said the years in esports, it's like dog years. They should count for more than a year of time because you can be the best Overwatch League team in January and you could be the 8th best in May. And you might not even have fucking done anything. The game can change. Other people just adapt to you. Like in sports, if you're the best for a year, you might be the best for 3 years. Like it feels like the years mean much more in those games. So basically, when you look at how long some of the really great players played in games like Counter-Strike, nobody can take it for granted that they'll be able to get that level of longevity. To be the best for like 5, 6 years, that's really, really hard. So I think it's one of the coolest stories because he's got like the perfect start, but now he has to stay the course. That's the tough part.
Yeah. Well, and that's why it brings up to mind, when you mentioned how longevity is pretty important, we should like remember those people because if, for example, Crims right now, Crims has absolutely been playing still amazing. Sure. You wouldn't put him as the greatest player of all time or whatever, but Crims has been absolutely a star player. And how old is he now? Like 26, 27 or something like that. And I want to put like even Get Right up there of someone that I would say is one of the GOATs of Counter-Strike just because of his dominance, his sheer dominance for a short period of time. But it's interesting. I think it's a good point. Who has actually proven over the course? Like, I'm curious, how good is Simple going to be in 2 years from now? You think he's still going to be as good as he is now? One of the best players in the game? Maybe. Probably. But thanks for coming on, Thorin. Appreciate it, man. Thanks for stopping by. This was awesome. It was cool interviewing you. Maybe we'll have you on in the future because to be honest, like I said, I'm a big fan. Specifically, not to be a big fanboy. You know, I don't want to suck your dick too much. So, but thanks for coming on, bro. I appreciate it, man.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll catch you later. All right, Thorin Duncan Shields, boys. Awesome to have him on, honestly. I know we need to get better endings. I think it's still kind of awkward for our guests. That's my bad, honestly. That is my bad for being awkward end to the session.
We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out eventually. Thanks for coming, though, guys. This was a fun one. This was great. It was awesome talking to Thorin. I know he probably, hated it here as per usual. Everybody hates us. You know what I'm saying? Everybody fucking hates us, and I hate them too. No, I'm just kidding. Specifically Goomba yesterday for calling me, saying that I could never go pro in fucking Valorant. Fuck that guy, dude. But it was honestly awesome to hear Thorin's thoughts on a lot of stuff, and to have him on the show because he runs his own show and his own podcast and really a ton of shows on his own YouTube channel. But on that note and on that bombshell, guys, we're gonna leave you off here. Just to remind you, we're gonna make Spotify versions coming soon. I don't know exactly how soon. I think it's coming tonight even or the night after. I'll definitely post about it on Twitter and stuff like that and on the Discord server. We're trying to get more accurate information going across all social medias. But thank you for coming to the show today, guys. Make sure to check out the highlights after we did it. And yeah, it's only full interviews are going to be on Spotify. So our full interview with a guest. So for example, with Thorin today, that full interview will be uploaded to Spotify. It'll be uploaded for you to see. So thanks for coming, guys. This is great. Thank you to Siren. Thank you to Samantha. Thank you to Toberto for coming on today and for helping the show get a smooth on going. This was Taking Time Bomb Tuesday. Hopefully we said nothing too controversial, boys. I think we did. So probably pissed a lot of people off. And on that bombshell, we'll catch you guys tomorrow. We need Hot Junior tomorrow.
God damn it.
Hot Junior Wednesday.
We'll give a better one tomorrow.
Man, do I buy one of these things? One of these parties.
You buying the liquid jacket?
You gotta get the soft
Some of the
game.
Naruto part itself.